I'd like to call to order the Monroe County Public Library Board Trustees meeting for February 21st, 2024. If we could go around and just introduce ourselves, and if you'd like to share what you're reading, you may. Nichelle, will you mind starting us?
I sure can. Let me get my library up so I can tell you what I'm reading. Nichelle Wash, and I am currently reading The Rage of Innocence by Kristen Henning.
Closer, and I'm going to get the title wrong, but it's a collection of poetry by Kwame Alexander. All is Honey, I think. All is Honey, maybe. I'm not sure. It's good. It's very good. Mm-hmm.
I'm Jamie Burkhart, and I'm actually rereading the Giver Quartet, and I'm on Gathering Blue.
I'm Greer Carson. I'm reading The Come Up, an oral history of the rise of hip hop by Jonathan Abrams, and my family and I are playing Super Mario Wonder, of course.
My name is Kari Essery, and I just finished reading The Sea by John Banville.
I'm Chris Hall, and I just finished Sapien. Interesting story, but then I was recommended Eleanor Oliphant, so I'm going to be reading that or listening to that one by Gail Honeyman.
Motion to approve the consent agenda from last time for minutes, monthly financial report, monthly bills for payment, personnel report, and the board meeting calendar.
So moved. Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in favor, say, or all against, say nay. And now Greer is going to share with us the director's monthly report.
All right, we'll start with some updates on our Southwest closure. We are currently in the midst of a long insurance investigation involving all parties. That's MCPL, Strasser Construction, Matthew Architects, numerous subcontractors, all from the original branch construction project. Our insurance subrogation reps have been on site regularly since late January and are working with us and our contractors and subs to make their final determination as to the claim. It has been a long 5 weeks so far, but my understanding is that with a claim this large, this is typical pace of work, and everything hinges on what our claim will ultimately cover. Once we get approval from insurance, we will engage our restoration company and immediately order replacement flooring and other materials so that we can begin work as soon as the claim is finalized. So for the time being, we have posted an interim public message asking for everyone's continued patience as we work to complete the claim process and begin restoration. In the meantime, our Southwest staff continue to work across the system alongside peers and other departments and branches, focusing on program planning and execution, community partnership development, and continuing desk shifts and collection maintenance work. This week, they began boxing and storing the Southwest collection so as to clear the main floor at the branch and thereby expedite the reflooring work, which is soon to come. And as of this afternoon, our Southwest team, with the help from numerous public services and leadership staff, have actually completed the boxing and storing of the entire Southwest collection. So the second we're ready to get rolling with restoration, they can move unimpeded. And the Southwest collection is now officially closed to the public in terms of placing holds, which is okay because it's pretty much a duplicate collection, and patrons have been instructed to use downtown Ellettsville or Outreach for holds pickup. And about an hour ago, I received some good news from insurance that they are approving the ordering of the replacement materials and signing on with our restoration company right now. So we can get that ball rolling as of tomorrow morning. So we're moving as fast as we can. But it's not a fast train. And we will have a soft commitment as to a date for reopening once we have restoration nailed down and the materials ordered. So, any questions about that before I move on to other director's report items? Yeah.
So was the entire floor damaged?
No, but enough of the floor was damaged that it's unlikely we're going to get the product that matches exactly like, the same dye lot and all of that. And if we have a discrepancy in color or tone, then we might as well do the whole floor. And if insurance covers the whole floor, then we're going to do the whole floor.
So my understanding, the insurance is going to cover the whole floor.
That's our expectation,
Okay.
but we don't have
Okay.
that final claim
Yeah.
yet. Yeah.
I might have, since I missed a meeting, what actually happened? I mean,
So
where is the flaw in the system that was to protect
The flaw in the system was a damper on the roof, which is part of the HVAC system that lets out air and lets in air. It froze in the open position after a lot of rain, followed by plummeting temperatures to something like 30+ degrees over a 24-hour period. It froze in the open position, let too much cold air into the HVAC system. When the boiler kicked on, cold air met the hot, busted a pipe, and then we had water drain down into the lounge area.
Was that considered a unique thing to happen, a fluke to happen, or was it a flaw in the whole system? Or
That
that's
is part of what they're going to determine. That's what their investigation is about, yeah.
Do you have a sense that people are pointing fingers to say it was this person's, or this contractor's? No?
Not
Okay.
as much as we worried, but we'll know when we get to, we have a meeting next week for some further investigation in the HVAC system and the drywall, and at that point, we may get a sense that somebody's going to say it's an insurance claim and someone else is going to say it's warranty and it's a faulty product or faulty installation. So we're coming up on that point pretty soon. But so far, all of the parties have been working together really well.
So it's highly unlikely that we would have to suffer any of the cost.
Correct.
Good.
But it's a long time being closed with our precious new building, so.
I just want to say thank you to everyone who just unpacked the books and then took the time to pack them back up. So.
Okay, we are off to a strong start on overall collection use this year. January saw solid physical circulation and a significant spike in digital circulation thanks to a record-setting overdrive checkout for the month. We have completed and submitted the 2023 annual report for the Indiana State Library. This is a report that captures most of the quantifiable aspects of library operations, including annual circulation counts, programs and program attendance, assets and finances, facilities, organizational structure, employment data, and many more data points. It's a useful tool for the state library engaging trends across Indiana public libraries, and it's useful for us in terms of seeing a snapshot of our annual totals. So we'll share a PDF version of this submitted report as part of next month's meeting and touch on some of the highlights from 2023 when we do that. We are hosting our very first social work intern through a partnership with IU School of Social Work. This position will develop training opportunities, needs assessments, and best practices for helping patrons in crisis. They will also work to create pathways between MCPL and local agencies who provide assistance to those in need. And our current social work internship runs through April, but this is something we're going to renew every semester with IU. CATS turns 50. There was a nice piece in Bloom magazine about that, celebrating the half-century of community service that our unique department has offered since the 1970s. We are continuing to look at options for a hybrid and/or flexible work policy. This is something that came back from the compensation study that staff survey in late 2022 as a top priority. We have a staff-wide survey on this subject closing out at the end of this week, and we'll take the rest of quarters 1 and 2 to review this additional feedback and survey public library and nonprofit industries for common policies before drafting something specific to MCPL and then bringing it to you all for consideration later this year. And finally, we are launching our new professional development program at the end of this month. Our 2024 operating budget includes a 40% increase in staff learning and development opportunities compared to years past. This budget is department-specific, is intended for use by all library staff and not just professional level certification required positions. And this is a priority which originally stems from part of continuous improvement and is now linked to our 5th strategic goal of investing in competitive staff retention and development strategies. Happy to answer any questions about the director's report.
I have a question about the professional development funds. How those are used within each department or functional area. Is it for area-wide trainings, or can different members apply to use those funds for opportunities they seek out?
It's more the latter. So like area trainings, people we would bring in, we pay for that with a separate budget, and that's open to usually all staff. This is more for conferences and online webinars, some things that folks who need to be certified need to do in order to meet their certification deadlines. So it's really more individual staff. They work with their manager on sort of their work plan for the year, what their development goals might be, We make sure it's consistent with our strategic goals, with our financing, and then they'll put in a request to say go to ALA or ILF or a conference or something like that, and then we approve that. What's different, in addition to the increased investment in professional development starting this year, is that we're breaking those professional development funds down by departments, so the managers have more agency over using that money the way they see fit, rather than administration taking sort of a global view of it and just kind of saying yes, no, maybe, which doesn't seem as efficient.
Are there any policies in place to make that equitable within that bucket?
Not policies, but equity was a huge part of how we put this together. So rather than say this department has 20 people at this number of pay grades and this department has 5 people at much higher pay grades, so this department automatically gets a lot more than the other, we tried to balance that out. And the big change there is that rather than say librarians and up have to do certification, so they need professional development dollars, so that's where our money goes, we're making sure that we can cover that for people, but we're also offering more opportunities for people who aren't in those certification level positions to develop their skills and grow their careers here and so on. So that's kind of the driver.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to comment and congratulations to Matthew Architects for receiving their American Institute of Architects Design Excellence Award for the Southwest branch. So that's very nice.
Very, very exciting award, unfortunately timed, but we didn't know that. And it was a great event, and yeah, they certainly deserved the honor, so, yeah.
Okay, our next order of business. Do I have a motion to approve our election of officers?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so up for vote, currently, Chris Harrison will keep her title as president. Jamie Burkhart will be vice president. We'll have Kari be treasurer, and Chris Hall will move to secretary. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, across the board. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the adoption of in-kind gifts that Greer is going to talk to us about?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have 3 paintings to consider accepting as donations from patrons. So per our gift policy, in-kind gifts such as these are to be reviewed and approved by our board. The larger painting was actually part of a local rotating mural project back in 2021. And they reached out to us and asked if we would sponsor one of the murals, and we said yes. And the painting was intended to create or rather reflect the mission, vision, and values of MCPL. So this was a few years back. They got in touch with us recently and asked if we would like the mural, because I guess they're done using it for what they were using it for, and we said yes, of course. So that's what's unique about that one. And the other 2 paintings were donated by a patron who was just interested in having them at the library and for us doing whatever we want to do with them. So we don't really get a whole lot of artwork donated, but over the last couple of years, this would make 4, I think. So, yeah.
So what was the mural used? Did I miss that?
I'm not sure. Josh, what was it called? Artisan Alley? Is that what the project was?
I think that's where I've
Yeah.
seen it, yeah. Artisan Alley, yeah.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, all in favor of accepting the in-kind donations, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Real quick, while we're talking about artwork, just a question. The art that's hanging on the wall, it has that additional strand that's hanging below it. Are we able to hide that at all? Like, is that not a safety hazard for curious kids? Okay,
I don't know. Yeah.
okay, thanks.
I'll take a look, though. Yeah, I haven't noticed that. You mean right out here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, you know how it's suspended on that strand? There's a lot of strands still hanging under the picture.
Oh,
So I'm just
okay.
thinking about kids.
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
About my kids that will run through there and just yank on stuff.
I can't
And all the
imagine
art will
that
be on the
ever
floor.
happening. Yeah. Yeah, we'll take a look at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, next we have the CATS contract with Monroe County, which we've heard a little bit about. Motion to approve.
So what's a little weird about this is we usually do all of our CATS contracts in December. They were a little delayed this year, and we did them kind of piecemeal. We did 1 or 2 in December, 1 in January, and we're doing the last one here. This is with the county. This has actually been signed and approved by our friends at the county. Chris Harrison and I also signed it. We did that electronically when they sent it to us. But officially, we need to present it to you all, look at it, see if you have any questions before we move on with our contract. And Martin, there are no changes at all to this, correct?
No changes. It's exactly the same as last year. The only thing that's different is just the dates, 23 to 24.
All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And next, we're going to hear from Becky Throckmorton. She's going to tell us a little bit more about the monthly employment data and the new way that will be represented to us.
And so, just for reference, if you look in the packet on page 86, you're going to see employee hours paid per month, employee wages paid per month. So Gary and Becky and I have been talking for a little while about whether or not this is a useful visualization of this data, or if there's a different way we could present this that would be more useful to you all and to the public. And so Becky's got some suggestions for how we might do this, and they're just suggestions. We would open this up for discussion. We can talk about this next month as well. This is us deciding what do we want to do with our packet. So.
So this is what's in the packet. I just put it up here for easy reference. As we were talking about it, kind of the pieces that seemed a little bit maybe confusing or not super helpful, we've got 12 data points across the year. It's one for every month. We have pay periods where we've got 3 paychecks, and so that causes some spikes in there. And then you're also kind of missing data that we felt like was important. Head count, some of those employment stats. And so what we're looking at is a revision for that. So this is the data that you've got right now. What we're proposing is that we look at doing quarterly rather than monthly. So it would be 4 points of data over the course of a year instead of 12. And then that we would have some additional employment stats, headcount, turnovers, vacancy, those kinds of things to give you a better picture of the overall employment here at the library. This is just some of the data. I just pulled it so we could talk about it a little bit before we get into the next kind of proposed graphs for you all. So this is our head count for 2023. So I just looked at the whole year. I pulled our average head count, so that's each pay period, and then I divided out, if it's 2 paychecks in a month, I divided the head count for each paycheck. If it's 3, that's divided out. So it's kind of an even spread across for you to look at those numbers. And then I've put the internal job changes. So these are folks that get promoted, move from one department to another, those opportunities where we're giving folks the chance to move up or into a different position here at the library. Hired is folks who are hired at the library, so that's either a new hire or a rehire. And then resignations and terminations are folks who have resigned from, or resignations and retirements are folks who have either resigned from the library, retired, anything like that, where they've left their position. So I know it's a lot of data to have up there. One of the big things that we look at in HR is the turnover rate. And so that's something that we kind of mark on an industry standpoint for what is the turnover, how are we doing at retaining our folks. And so you can see from this, our turnover has been fairly low and pretty consistent between 3 and 6% each quarter. And so just from looking at this data, I've got some annual summaries for you. So in 2023, we added 22 positions to our head count. We opened Southwest, which makes sense. We had 31 job changes, 52 hires, and 29 resignations or retirements. So our annual turnover was 18%. The industry standard for a government type of an employer is 20%. And if you look broader than that, just kind of nationally, it can be as high as 45%. So it says we're doing really well at retaining our folks and giving them opportunities to change positions within the library. So I thought that was some important data. Do you have questions on this before I move on?
Talk about the rehiring.
Yeah.
The different positions. they have to quit before they can be rehired for a different, you said something about rehiring some of the employees, so is that for them to advance or change?
No, so we have job changes are
Right.
folks who move from one position to another in the library. A rehire is someone who like left the library for a
Oh, they
period of
actually
time
left.
and
Oh,
has
okay.
come back. So they termed out of our system
I
and
see,
then
okay.
have come back at some point, so.
We get a fair amount of that with material handlers just because of the nature of the job. Yeah.
That's actually something I was going to ask. If we're looking at quarterly data, could we break down a little bit by job classification,
Yeah.
perhaps?
Oh,
To
yeah.
see
Yeah,
in a little more detail where those things were happening?
yeah, can definitely do that.
Is it industry standard that you do quarterly? Is it, I'm just going to say, is it really necessary?
So on the turnover, typically we look at that on an annual basis. I just thought it was helpful to have this so you could see it month by month and then quarter by quarter as well.
I love the quarterly.
Yeah.
Because I'm a data nerd, so this is exciting to me. Is there also a way for us to see how many positions are available? So we're hiring 2, but are there technically 10 positions available, so there's 8 vacant, right? So if we could see that, and if we could also see demographic data, like to see who we're hiring. And I mean, there may not be any discrepancies at all, but it would just be good to know.
Yeah, yeah. One of the data points that I'd like to put in for 2024 is basically the openings, so the vacancies that we have each month, to look at that versus our turnover. And then demographics is definitely something I can add in there too.
And then point of clarification, this represents all libraries, right? So this is downtown and southwest?
Downtown, Southwest, and Ellettsville.
And Ellettsville,
Mhm.
perfect,
Everything within MCPL.
Okay, great.
Other questions, comments? Anything on this? No? Okay.
So what I think we could do is take some of these suggestions for additional data and build them into the model that we've started working on, and maybe bring it back next month and say, what do you think of this? And if you all are comfortable with it, then in April, we can start building it into the packet that way.
Yeah, this is much better than the other 2 graphs. This actually tells us a story. And then, are we fully staffed? Close? Okay.
Very close.
Okay. So people want to work for the library?
Yes.
Okay.
yes.
That's good.
And then the next slide, this is just my last slide that I've got here. This is what we're proposing would be in the packet. So I can go back and do some additional work. We can show some additional things. But this would essentially replace what we have on page 86 of the packet right now. Yeah. So this just looks at the last 3 years, and then we'll add in 2024 as we go through, versus the old one had basically 5 years of data in it. And then it's got each quarter, so you can see some of the things where like quarter 2 on the yellow bar for 2023, we had 3 payrolls in a month that month, so those are a little bit higher there. So you're going to still see a little bit of that, but it's not quite as drastic where you've got those massive spikes. And then you have really all 3 pieces of data that you need. So you have the wages, the hours, and the number of staff. So you can kind of see where we fall.
So what do you all want us to take away from the graph of hours paid? Like, why do you want us to know that?
This is just it's information that we've had in the packet before. And so we were trying to figure out how to make it more useful for you. If this isn't information that you're excited to see, or if there's something else that you'd rather be included or something in addition to this, we're more than happy to do that. So
I really like the wages paid, and I like the head count. I don't know, and I'm open to hearing what people say, I don't know if I'm getting really any information from the hours paid, but something I would like to see is how our wages, oh no, I think I see it here, compare year over year. Because I want to make sure we're adjusting the wages
yeah.
In alignment with the cost of living changes. So if I can clearly see that, that would be helpful. I don't know that I necessarily am getting anything from hours paid, but I'm open to the board.
I don't. I think the quarterly wages paid is significant, but hours paid, I'm not sure.
I think over time, we may want that because,
Packet, right?
but I
Is that
don't
what
think
you're
it's a bad
saying?
thing to track because it lets us know how the library is being staffed. Right?
Yeah.
So if we see that, like a downtrend, you know, we might say, what's happened? Like, maybe we don't see that the wages have changed, but how we're staffing the library has changed. It may be something we want to know.
Is that what quarterly hours paid tracks? Is the number of hours we are staffed, number of hours we are open, or what is, tell us exactly what it measures.
Yes, that's the hours that we've actually paid out. So that's work hours, personal hours, sick hours, anything that's paid on someone's pay stub.
Than just the hours open, so it doesn't read
Correct.
hours open, right?
Right, it's just the hours that we've paid.
Okay.
Well, so then to your point, do we want that as the data point then? Do we want the data that talks about the hours open to see how we're staffing?
That makes sense here because we're looking at money.
Does cost. So I don't know.
It's
Yeah.
We do report, so I put together a report that basically spits out some of this data. So what I look at and what I can pull really easily is what do we expect to pay our folks? So we have everyone is like 15 to 18, 20, 25, or 37 and a half hours a week. And so I can see what we're expecting to pay those folks versus what we actually pay out. So we may have someone who works more hours in a pay period or fewer hours, just kind of as things flex. And so we can see what folks are expected to be paid and what we expect to pay out from the hours standpoint versus what we're actually paying. So that would be kind of that, how are we doing with our staffing, if you wanted to see that.
I think that makes a lot of sense. That would be good to see.
Okay. I can pull something together for that.
Quarterly basis for that? Okay.
So there's quarterly, and then we'll also be able to see annually, correct? Or no?
I can present the information however you guys would like it.
Okay. I
So if
think
it's-
annual would be good too, though.
I think an annual is fine for me. Once a year, fine.
Do the previous year's totals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the quarterly is good, and then the annuals in January. Yep, I like that.
So what would you like to see on a quarterly basis? Just this information here, what was on the last table?
Yeah, I think in my perspective, this is good for quarterly. I think the additions or the recommendations that I made on the last slide about demographics would be good on an annual basis. And then maybe even quarterly to see what positions are available, right? Like what positions are open that we haven't hired for. I think that could be good on quarterly. But demographic and hours or that expected versus actual, I think could be good for annual.
Okay. Anything else? Yeah.
Work for you.
No, I've already got all the data. It's just a matter of putting it in a format that makes sense for you guys to look at.
Thank you.
So much better.
Oh, thanks.
It's so much better. It's much easier to follow. So good job.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, thank you.
We're going to hear from Tori Lawhorn from Communications and Marketing. Come share all you know.
promise it's worth it. This happens. This is why I'm not in IT. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's do this. Yeah. Okay. All right, so I figured I'd take the time to kind of talk about campaigns we've done recently that my team and I are really proud of, as well as showcase some upcoming initiatives too that are very exciting. So some previous ones that we've done since my last update. If you haven't heard, February is Library Lovers Month, so similar to last year, we're asking our patrons to kind of write a digital love letter to library, what they like about it, the staff, the services. Not only is it great engagement for us to engage with our patrons, but it's also us getting direct feedback from them, which is, it's great kind of firsthand knowledge of what they like, what they use. And it's also really great because a lot of our staff are getting named individually. So it's kind of a nice share the love moment, as well as getting valuable feedback. So as you can see too, our visual brand is evolving. And so it is really nice to kind of look at what we've done over the last couple of years and kind of see how we can always look to improve our visuals as well. So on the left is last year's, and then on the right is the one that we are currently doing. And similarly, Patsy, Mary Jean, and I have been working on how to collaborate joint efforts, not only across MCPL, but also with the Friends. So this year, what we've done is we took the love letters that we received last year, and we incorporated them into the Friends design so that they could share on their accounts as well. So it's getting a lot of really good engagement. And as you can see on the right, one even said that they became a friend of the library at that time. So it's really nice to be able to use content that patrons have submitted, but also to kind of have that joint effort and make it more collaborative. So the design, as you can see, matches the one on the right, but it is in the Friends blue. So it kind of gives them their own brand as well, which is great. National Library Week, so it was April 23rd through 29th of last year, and we took this time to kind of give patrons a bird's eye view of what we do at MCPL. So the age-old question of how many books do you have in the library? Well, we answered that along with a lot of other things. So we talked about how many library card holders we have, visitors for our locations, vital services, programs. So as you were saying, stats nerd, here you go. So it was a really nice kind of snapshot of year in review, and it was one of our most popular pieces of content of last year. And then this year we did the strategic plan. So we incorporated all of this into the booklet and expanded on that as well. But that was just kind of what we did for last year. Library card sign-up month in September. We actually got our largest amount of library card sign-ups going to the newsletter too. So when you sign up for a library card, you're asked if you want to sign up for a newsletter. We got about 800, which is our highest month. I think the next closest one was about 650. So whether or not it was this or, back to school season, I think it's kind of a perfect storm of all of them. But for this campaign, we played on kind of the free as a bird kind of saying with a nod to our state bird. But we also really wanted to make sure that people knew the library is not just about books. You can read, learn, connect, and create here. So it's kind of hard to see on here, but we have all different kinds of things that you can be with your library card. So we have painter, cyclist, scientist, all kinds of things. And we think it went over really well with our patrons. We got a lot of positive feedback. And then, of course, the numbers with the library card signups was also great to see.
So may I ask, do you go out to the schools still to allow for the children to go ahead and sign up? Is that one of the ways you're getting some of these?
Yeah, I personally don't, but our public services do. So our children's librarians and teen staff, they go out to the schools. We recently had one for, I think it was Parents' Night for one of our school systems. So we definitely bring all of our fun, stickers and bookmarks and everything. And so it's really nice because we get that feedback from our public services folks too. Bluey, the TV show, is pretty popular with children. So we did a version of Our Friends Bears in the Bluey animation style. And so our children's services staff members were very excited to see them get excited, and so kind of relate back to, hey, the library is cool. We've got this, So it goes over really well. For Band Books Week in October, we did kind of a play on We're with the Band, B-A-N-N-E-D instead of B-A-N-D. So we took kind of this like vinyl look. The designers came up with a concept completely on their own. And we also had kind of a half sheet that we went out to local music stores to kind of see if they could put it in their window, and they did. So that was really nice. So we did kind of a different take on it. It really just depends on, sometimes it's throwing it to the wall and seeing what sticks. Sometimes it's, hey, we saw another library do it. We really want to do that. That's how the 2022 year in review came about. So we're always looking for feedback too. So if you all see other libraries doing something or a really cool concept, a lot of times it's just sitting down and kind of throwing stuff out there and seeing what works. But I think this is one of our proudest campaigns from last year. So I'll be excited to see what we do for this year. Like I said, we're also looking to work with friends more and kind of have those joint marketing efforts and have kind of a more cohesive branding with the friends and allowing us to use our skills. So we're really appreciative of that. So this was National Friends of Libraries Week in October. So the Friends had their members table at certain library locations and kind of talk about the Friends and what they do. And Patsy and Mary Jean had asked for some kind of cohesive signs and a website banner and social graphics, so we were happy to do that. They use a lot of our elements as well, which is really nice for visual branding connection, but then we also put it in their color palette, put it in their font, so we are slowly developing the Friends brand and kind of updating that as we can. So I really appreciate Patsy and Mary Jean being so open with working with us and kind of having those joint efforts. Upcoming campaign, so this is really exciting. Don't know if you've heard, but it's total solar eclipse, something in April, right? Right, we've got that going on. So we actually just got our viewers in, that's in the middle. We partnered with the IU School of Optometry to get viewers, so we will have those available for the public starting March 11th. On the left is a button template that we have. One of my designers took our logo and kind of made it into an eclipse. Those are the stickers on the tables there. So we have those to give out to the public as well, but they kind of took our logo and put their own spin on it. So we will have those to kind of celebrate all the programs that we have going on prior to the solar eclipse. The right image is the cover of our booklet that's going to come out within the next couple days. So we have kind of what is it, how to safely view it, the times, and then it also has all of our programs as well. And we've also built a landing page too that has all this information. So all of that will be coming out very soon. And then the summer reading program. So last year we kind of did a visual lift to it to kind of have a more MCPL-wide theme to it. So this year we're doing the same thing. The national phrase part of the theme is Adventure Begins at Your Library, but because I am very lucky and I have such talented designers, we also made these in-house. So the visual brand is different than the national theme, but we are going with Adventure Begins at Your Library. So left to right, children's, tween, teen, and adult. These are still being developed, but we've worked in collaboration not only across public services, but also across MCPL locations. So we have one cohesive summer reading program committee. We get together, we get feedback, especially from successes and challenges from last year. So these are the concepts. About 80% are hand illustrated. The rest we've used, pulled from images from our various subscriptions. So children's is kind of a rocket ship adventure, planetary kind of theme, and then Tween, actually our downtown children's service manager, came up with it. It's Taking Me to Your Reader. So it's that alien kind of, I've been told it's kind of Lisa Frank-esque, or Toy Story with the Pizza Planet, so I think Tween is going to be very excited. And then Teen, we kind of threw it back to Galaga. But also, speaking to our teen services, Mothman is a fan favorite over there, so we kind of combined the two. So it's this little intergalactic creature that kind of takes you on a journey. And then adult, we threw it back to 70s, 80s NASA. Interestingly enough, NASA has only ever had 2 logos, but they've used them 4 times. So they kind of go back and forth. So that was real fun to see. So we kind of took that color palette, and when the actual boards get here, they're quite nice. We had all hand illustrated for the maps, especially because last year, the coloring map went over so well with our adult patrons. So I said, if we're going to do anything else, we have to have that coloring element, because I know a lot of people are going to have words with me if we don't. So, so we have that, and then down at the bottom is kind of our overall MCPL logo. So any opportunity we have to take the bear and or one of the bears and use that. So it's kind of our bear in space. We had the Camp Myth logo, which is kind of our cohesive branding for summer reading last year. So that's our logo for this year. So still in the later phases of development, but we're really excited for what we've put together for this year. And that's all I have. Do you have any questions?
So you might have said that, and I just didn't pick up on it. Are the programs only here at this downtown branch, or are some of these, like the summer programs, that going to be at the Ellisville and maybe Southwest if it's ready?
For the reading?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we also structured them where any patron can complete the summer reading program at any location or not at any location at all, to make it as accessible and equitable as possible.
I don't have a question, but I do have a praise.
Yeah, thank you.
You all are doing amazing.
Thank you so much.
Work. You know how like you can scroll through stuff on social media and there are certain things that have like certain brand recognition, like certain stores or whatever. MCPL has brand recognition. I can always tell when I'm looking at an MCPL product. So congratulations, you all are doing amazing work.
Thank you so much. I take no credit for myself. It's all my team. I am incredibly lucky with the people I get to work with, and I will happily sing your praises to them. So thank you so much. Thank you all for your time.
Public comment? No? Okay, and one last thing then, as the board, I think Dave is hiding here tonight. Dave, we want to just say thank you, and thank you for joining us for one more meeting, for your years of service.
Are you gonna give a speech?
It's fun, like sitting out there, although you can't hear very well, I will say that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, just FYI, these guys can't hear as well as you can.
Oh.
But it was interesting to hear you talk about the numbers. What numbers do you want to see? Because I remember my first meeting was a long time ago. But we got all these numbers, like vote on this budget. You vote to approve, you just showed up. You're like, you got a point, you go, okay. And it's like hundreds of thousands of dollars. And you're like, what do I do? But now, when you look at our reports, one thing we had to really work hard to get to was you could say at least, well, it's the same amount we spent last month. It's the same amount we spent last year. I feel kind of safe saying yes. So at least you get some control over that. And I think that's something we didn't have before. Of course, computers are so endemic now. Everything is running through digital. Yeah, well, it's fun. And of course, we got hard copy, which was cool.
Yeah.
We looked through the hard copy. It was fun. But it was fun. You know, now I look at it, so professional.
Thank you.
Well,
Well, I
thank you
will
guys.
say,
That's one of the things that I learned from you. Because when I first came to this board, I would be looking at that report like, what are all these numbers? And then you, every time, would have the most detailed question. And I'd be like, where is Dave seeing this stuff? So I appreciate you leading from the seat that you held, because it also made me really want to be on top of my game when it came to the numbers, so that when you asked something, I knew where to go. So thank you for that.
Well, thanks very much. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, guys. Carry on.
We are adjourned.